Configure shared storage for vSphere. Alright, so we've got the networking piece up and running on our vSphere environment. Now we're going to start taking a look at some shared storage. Now one of the reasons why I moved this shared storage piece to behind the networking piece is that a number of the different protocols that are in use today for connecting servers to their storage involve the use of Ethernet. And Ethernet obviously runs on a network and uses the whole TCP/IP protocol in order to be able to connect your servers in with your storage. Now, that's the case here in terms of iSCSI. It's also the case here in terms of fiber channel over Ethernet and even NFS storage. In the case of fiber channel, there is that whole sort of dark art that's associated with making fiber channel connections between server and storage. And we're not going to spend much time on fiber channel in this nugget. We want to focus in on these Ethernet-based protocols because they tend to be just a little bit more involved from the ESX layer. What we do want to do, however, in this nugget is help you understand that storage really, once it's been connected into an ESX server and then exposed into vCenter, really storage is just kind of considered to really be the same thing. Right? Whether it's iSCSI or fiber channel or FCOE, once the storage connection is done, well, then creating the data store and working with that data store, it all just operates as a piece of storage for an ESX host. I've split up the storage topic into two pieces, and this is the first of the two pieces here as far as creating those storage connections. The second piece is actually next in the next nugget when we're talking about the whole data stores and what's involved in order to actually work and interact with your data stores. I break this up because those are really kind of the two halves of dealing with storage in vCenter. And in this nugget, we're actually going to first take a look at some of the storage naming conventions that are out there. And then in the click-by-click portion, what I want to do is help you understand how you will essentially make those storage connections. And I'm going to focus on iSCSI at this point, although the processes for fiber channel are similar enough that you can at least be aware of them. iSCSI involves a little bit more effort because as an Ethernet-based protocol, you've just got more Ethernet-based work to put together in order for you to make that connection occur. I also want to show you NFS connections and data stores in this nugget as well, because those NFS connections and data stores, a little bit different. The configuration just slightly different than iSCSI. NFS is actually kind of developing kind of a fan base from a lot of administrators. Originally, NFS was one of those protocols that you would use for storing only your ISO files and some of those tangential sort of artifacts that you would need to have inside of an NTF or inside of a VMFS data store. But some people are actually finding NFS connections with decent enough speed that for even some second tier and in some cases first tier VM requirements, perhaps even running virtual machines over NFS. So you need to understand what iSCSI is, you need to understand how to make those NFS connections. I do want to spend just a minute talking about what these vCenter server storage filters are because they're there for the exam predominantly, but they're also there to help protect you against making some mistakes as you're configuring these storage connections. Before we get there, however, what I do want to spend is just some time just taking a look at the different storage naming conventions that are now available in version 5. Some of these are brought over from version 4, but from originally in ESX version 3, which used predominantly the VMHBA naming convention with the ACTN little lexicographical convention here that identifies the adapter, if there are more than one channel, if there are more than one targets associated with that, and then what LUN. That was how version 3 actually essentially identified what each piece of storage was. Now in 4 and then once again in 5, we now have these additional storage naming conventions that are out there. The NAA, or the Network Addressing Authority Identifier, is one. Also the EUI, or Extended Unique Identifier, is another way of uniquely identifying a particular piece of storage, and then also its partition here after this colon. These two are very long strings of letters and numbers, and they're designed essentially to uniquely identify